name is Juanita Hebert, and I am an instructional designer in a large university's teaching and learning center. This week, I received an email from an assistant professor looking for help in redesigning her course.
You have an email.
Dear Mrs. Hebert, I've been teaching Chem 3340 for a couple years now, always face-to-face. Now that we're teaching online, I'm finding that my students are not engaging with my lectures, and often they don't even log into our synchronous meetings. To be honest, I'm not sure how engaging my lectures were even before we moved online. Can you help me redesign my course?
Like many professors of the hard sciences at this university, Professor White is reluctant to give up the traditional lecture, but coming to my office shows that she is willing to hear new ideas. Before I meet with her, I need to hit the drawing board. As an instructional designer, I am not here to tell any faculty member what to do or how to teach. I am not here to redesign Professor White's course for her. Instead, the act of redesigning her course will be a collaborative process between the professor as the subject matter expert and me as the instructional designer. As Drysdale pointed out, collaborating with faculty is an integral part of the instructional designer's role. Faculty members who choose to redesign their courses on their own without the aid of an instructional designer tend to face challenges such as a heavy workload, lack of work time, and unfamiliarity with online pedagogies and emerging technologies. Therefore, it is also my responsibility to support and train Professor White in any chosen strategies. Everything I do should empower the professor to have control over her own course. As the subject matter expert, I expect Professor White to have the knowledge of chemistry needed for the course. As the instructional designer, then, it is my responsibility to apply research theory, knowledge, and skills to the course redesign. Together, we can both do the things that we are good at for the course. There are many factors to consider before undertaking a course redesign. The learners, the instructor, and the technology all present their own unique concerns. The learners in Chem 3340 are undergraduate students that, like thousands of students, were likely new to online learning when the pandemic forced universities into remote instruction. Additionally, many students lack the basic study skills required for success in any class and require the instructor to reinforce important information. Chem 3340 is what is often called a gateway course, defined as foundational to the student's major and high risk with an above average number of students earning low grades or dropping the course. The instructor, while willing to come to me for help in changing her course, is still reluctant to let go of the lecture-based teaching method. As I want her to leave my office happy enough to recommend my services to her colleagues, I'll need to ensure she understands the reasons and research behind my suggestions. As Uterman points out, when considering what technologies to use and how to use them, it is helpful for faculty to have a clear purpose for why they are using a given technology and how its use will enhance student learning. This leads directly into the final consideration, technology. Chem 3340 is currently scheduled as a synchronous online course, so any strategies or activities that we design will need to work in that format and with the devices that students have at home. Additionally, I'll need to keep the skill levels of both the instructor and the students in mind. When I meet with Professor White, I'll need to determine the societal and learner cultural factors at play in her course. I've prepared these questions to help gather the information I'll need. The first question is, what is the age range of students taking this course? This is important information to gather because there are different considerations for younger students versus older students. The next question is about the educational background of students taking the course. Are they generally first-generation college students? Are they all undergraduate students? Are they honors college students? All of these factors can play a role in the design of the course. Finally, I would ask if the professor knows anything about the cultural background of the students. Sarah Lanier's book, Foreign to Familiar, A Guide to Understanding Hot and Cold Climate Cultures, is a useful handbook on the cultural differences that can cause simple misunderstandings in communication. Knowing that Professor White is teaching in a hot climate location tells me that her students are likely to be more relationship-based. However, there may be students in the university that are originally from cold climate locations that tend to be more task-oriented. If Professor White does not know the cultural background of her students, I would encourage her to learn more about her students and maybe even direct her to a university seminar on culturally responsive teaching, which is defined as an educator's ability to recognize students' cultural displays of learning and meaning-making and respond positively and constructively with teaching moves that use cultural knowledge as a scaffold to connect what the student knows to new concepts and content in order to promote effective information processing. There are many constraints to consider when redesigning this course. As always, time is a factor. This course is being offered in the next semester, and the university has deadlines for submission of syllabi and course materials for review, so we'll need to work quickly to have the redesigned course ready. Uterman recommends allowing 6 to 12 months for course development if the instructors are doing the majority of the work themselves. With help from an experienced instructional designer, hopefully we can cut that time down to have the course ready for next semester. Technology and cost are constraints that go hand in hand. Without knowing the budget available to Professor White, I have to assume that we will be limited to the software already purchased and available from the university. Students are required to log into their class each week, so it is expected that they have a device with high-speed internet. Any technology beyond that is not guaranteed. It is also important to remember that the mental, emotional, and academic impacts of the shift to remote learning are likely to be challenging for students. Keeping the information I've collected in mind, I believe that a flipped classroom model is the best option to prevent and overcome the challenges I've identified so far. Flipped learning is when the instructor provides materials for students to view or read before class, saving the in-class time, or in this case, the synchronous online meeting time, for the learning activities. This departs from a traditional lecture-style classroom, where the professor delivers the information in class and assigns the activities as homework. A flipped classroom is a small but effective step away from lecture. An instructor like Professor White that is reluctant to leave her lectures behind can still deliver her lectures. She is simply going to record them in small chunks for students to watch before class. In this situation, a flipped model is cost-effective because the university already has an LMS for Professor White to use to share materials with students before each class. There are free or low-cost screen recording software available, such as Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify, that are easy to learn and that I, as the instructional designer, could train Professor White to use for recording her lecture materials. This model is also more learner-centered, transitioning the teacher into a role of facilitator and ensuring that the students are the ones doing the work during a class. This is essential to engaging students in a course that they may not have chosen to take. Additionally, as Adams and Gingras said, flipped learning is an excellent fit for a diverse, multi-generational classroom. You'll have the in-class time to provide the active, deep, and individualized learning that the modern student needs. This model will allow Professor White to meet the needs of all her students, up to and including helping them with the challenges of learning during a pandemic. Finally, the flipped classroom model can take time to implement. It can be time-consuming to record the lecture materials and design in-class activities. However, there are strategies that can help cut down the time required to flip a class, including starting by identifying the best course modules to flip instead of flipping the entire course right away. Besides, in comparison to fully redesigning a course from scratch, flipping existing content is more time efficient. In this case, the ADDIE model of instructional design is best suited. It is the most used instructional design model and is a model that would be easy for a professor without instructional design experience to understand. The first step is to analyze the instructional problem and the learners. We will also analyze the remote aspects of the course, such as the LMS and any other digital spaces learners will visit. Most of this work will be complete after my first meeting with Professor White. The second step is to design. This is where Professor White and I will flip her course, making design decisions about the before-class learning materials and the during-class activities. This step could include writing storyboards or scripts for the lecture videos, as well as identifying any additional readings or videos that Professor White would like to include. Next is develop. Once we've made the important decisions about the modules to flip and the activities to create, we will actually develop those recorded lectures and materials and the during-class activities. The development phase will include various test runs to ensure that all technology is functional before the implementation step. Implementation will begin when the new semester starts and Professor White teaches this course to the next group of students. As the instructional designer, I will remain involved in the process and coordinate a technical support strategy after the course begins. Finally, the last step is to evaluate. Throughout and at the end of the semester, Professor White and her students will evaluate the effectiveness of the course redesign with the goal to make adjustments or changes for the following semester. Student academic achievement, as well as student and teacher evaluations, will help determine the best next steps. Considering what I know about Professor White and Chem 3340, I would use the EEE framework to guide instructional design decisions about incorporating educational technology. The first E of the EEE framework is engagement and focuses on educational technologies that help students focus on the learning goals and tasks. Considering that Professor White's students are not engaging with her lecture, choosing tools that help her students focus on the content they're learning will be crucial. The second E is enhancement, which considers how technology tools help students develop an understanding of the learning goals. As mentioned earlier, Chem 3340 is a gateway course that will lead into higher level courses. It is essential that students leave the course with the necessary foundational knowledge, so the technologies chosen must assist in that goal. The third E is extension, or how well technology creates a bridge between classroom learning and everyday lives. Using technology to ensure that the learning is authentic to students' lives will help make the class more engaging and will increase student success. Now that I've considered all angles of this task, it's time to meet with Professor White and get to work.